So they may use some other part, right?
Yeah, so.
Hi, John.
Hey, how's everybody?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm okay.
Feeling okay?
A little sore.
Yeah,
Let me go check.
I can sit okay.
good.
Rolling. Hey, Carol and Mike are here with their packet. That's good. Low, right?
Picking up the grandkids.
How you doing, Carol, Mike? Oh, good, good.
Oh, I can imagine. You're not gonna be able to do that when you're older.
Nope, well, I'm sure I could do it now.
Wow.
Kinda hot?
But I got them all ready.
It's warmer in here than normal.
Warmer than outside. I am so tired of being cold.
Supposed to heat us tomorrow.
Yeah, start warming up a little bit tomorrow.
Freaking dogs.
It's warm in here. It'll be like this all summer, and in the winter it'll be freezing in here. Hey, we're lucky to get the season with the lighting. Don't go for it.
What's going on with that one tile right there?
Oh, no, not
It's your fault.
my fault.
Yes.
I'm not the architect or the
Yeah, there is. I thought that roof was just done.
It was.
Yeah, so
Ready to
it
go?
look at it.
can't be from the roof. It's gotta be something else.
Well, it can be from the roof.
Yeah.
Hopefully we got a warranty there.
Oh, they got warranty. Could be flashing or something. Sometimes the curves and stuff.
Yeah.
You have something else. It looked good in there, so we're good there.
It really rained heavy the other day.
Okay.
That was-
Fred, Diane, Jennifer, Greg, Brian, you guys ready?
Yep.
John? Okay. All right. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Village of Walton Hills of Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 7:01 p.m. We got 7:01 a.m., 7 o'clock a.m. in there.
I see.
You see that? Oh.
She's probably typing it at 7 a.m. Right.
That's it. Okay. Next item of business, pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Normally, we only do a moment of silence in our council meeting, but I just like to take a moment just to do a moment of silence for everything that's going on in the world, and that maybe there will be a peaceful resolution and people won't get killed. I just like to take a moment of silence because we know there's a lot going on today, and I think just a moment of silence would be appropriate. Okay, thank you, everybody. Roll call, Nikki?
Councilman Nielsen?
Here.
Councilwoman Kanzoni?
Here.
Councilwoman Allen?
Here.
Councilman Spitznagel?
Here.
Councilman Whedon?
Here.
Okay, all of council present, along with our fiscal officer, Nicole Sell, our law solicitor, John Montello, our assistant fiscal officer, Melissa Sandrick, and our village engineer, Joe Gelati. We also do have some representatives from the Lake Club here tonight, and also Oswald, Mike Slegg, and Carol Barita, who represent Oswald and our carrier, well, our broker for our life insurance, and dental and other insurances for our staff. So with that said, any comments related to the agenda items? Okay, I'd like to also welcome anybody that's watching the live stream. As everybody knows, we have the Lake Club contract renewal, which we usually do in April every year, and we did budget for it, the same amount as last year, $25,000. So it is budgeted for, but we have to do legislation for it. So I did put it on the agenda. I know Jeff and Mary asked, if they could come to the meeting, and of course, don't have any problem with that. They did. Mary did pass out, and I'll let you talk about it, Mary. But I thought if she wants to come up and just give a quick spiel, and if there's any questions for them, then we can go from there. Just state your name and stuff, Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary Spina Bosch. Do you need address?
Yeah, doesn't
Oh,
hurt.
14900 Alexander Road. I'm the controller of the Walton Hills Lake Club. I'm taking over Lloyd Worm's place because Lloyd has retired. My handouts are, the first one is just a financial statement which shows increases and decreases from 2024 to 2025, and there's explanations next to whether it's an increase or a decrease. The other two are a 5-year look back from 2020 to 2026 as a projected amount. And the third one is also the same thing with some footnotes. And really just to review, we have a couple larger expenditures this year. One being we are doing a restoration of the lake walls, which is a much needed thing that has to be done. We've painted over those walls, I don't know how many years, so there'll be like that much paint. So that is a huge endeavor on our part, and of course a huge monetary amount that has been required. It's about $25,000. Most of the other expenses, there's some small increases, like our liability insurance went up $500 this year versus last year, and that is a 3-year contract that we have with our insurance company. We did shop the market, and no one could touch what Cincinnati Insurance gave to us for that particular price. We do expect a little bit of an increase on our directors and officers, so I kind of inflated that a couple $100 just to be on the safe side. The only other big thing is a facility improvement. We are thinking about putting a hot water tank in so that we have hot water in the bathrooms and also in the back room, because we do a lot of cleaning, and it's just a lot healthier for people to wash their hands with hot water. If there's any questions, I'll try and field them. I'm new at this, so.
Oh, you're doing great, Mary. I know if not, me and Diane, we can add a little bit. We know as far as everything that the village, that took place at the lake from the village went well last year, as always, and we understand, of course, that the Parker program went real well last year. And they had a great time, the kids down there. So just want to let everybody know that that ran very smooth, and that takes a lot of cooperation between our Recreation and Community Life Department and the Lake Club. The kids aren't always little angels, even though we think our kids in Walton Hills are angels, and kids from the surrounding areas. But it went well, from what we understand from Ronnie, Natalie, and Mary. It went very well in the counselors. So we appreciate that, because to me that's a very important part of this Lake Club contract, providing a nice, safe environment for swimming
Right.
for our Parker program. Of course, for our residents too, and everybody else. The other thing, Mary, did you just want to expound? We did add the 75th anniversary in there.
Yes.
Anything with the events, or is it pretty much the same as?
We added one event this year. It's going to be a luau at the lake. Many years ago, we had a steak roast, and they kind of did away with the steak roast, so we thought we would do something a little bit different, and it'll be a luau. This will be another fundraiser for us, because that's what the steak roast was. And hopefully, it will go over well. We're in the planning stages of it. It should be fun, something different. You know, we're basically starting from scratch as a board, because Sean has retired, Lloyd has retired, Jerry's gone, so we have several new directors and trustees, and we're all getting our feet wet. So, you know, hopefully we can work together and make this a really great year at the lake.
Are you getting your feet wet at the lake?
Yes. All the
With
time.
that funny Brian over
Good one, man.
Any questions for Mary? Or about the contract?
Mayor Colgrove.
Yes, go ahead,
Yeah,
Mary.
just have a couple questions for Mary. First one is for the fundraiser. Is there a date already set for that luau?
The luau is July 18th, sorry.
Okay. And then the second question, the big project, the restoration project, is that a contracted service, or is that a combination contract and
It's a contracted service.
no volunteers on this one?
No, he's licensed and bonded with Walton Hills. He has already started the work. With the weather being nice on certain days, he's down there working. So we anticipate opening the lake on time.
So does all of that existing paint come off and gets down to the?
A lot of it has come off already, and he's working on the major parts that have come off. And just going down the line, he's just going all the way around. And he's gonna be caulking cracks in the cement, along the edges, bonding it together. On the slope, he'll be working on that also. So it's a lot of work. It's not something that we thought we could take on as a trusteeship and with volunteers.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it hasn't been done, probably, gosh.
I don't
If it's
think-
ever been done,
No, I don't think it has ever been done.
so definitely do.
Well,
And
you
it will
make
be
it
beautiful
done
when
by
it's done.
initials.
Any other questions? Brian, did you have something? or-
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. go
I
ahead.
just want to thank everyone with the Lake Club. I mean, you do a wonderful job. 4th of July is phenomenal. The children, the adults, everyone has such a good time.
Oh, yeah.
And I do appreciate the fact that the Parker kids, twice a week, they love coming down there to swim. I mean, it'd be good memories for them, getting to enjoy that as a child also. And then, of course, adding our 75th celebration there also on August 8th. It's added work, but I don't want you to think we don't appreciate it, that all of you volunteering down there and the hard work,
Yeah.
getting the lake ready.
A lot goes into it that a lot of people behind the scene, if you're not behind the scenes, you don't know how much work actually goes into opening that lake and then closing it up in the fall. The Parkers, a lot of times, if the weather's like super, super hot and it's not a Tuesday or Thursday, we usually call Mary and just say, hey, it's okay to bring the kids down, we know it's a hot day. So they'll get an extra few
Thank you.
days in, yes.
Yeah, that's a good point to make, and that is really the cooperation on the Lake Club side. We have the designated days, but the lake's been gracious enough. So a lot of times, the kids go to the lake 3 times a week instead of what's in the contract at 2, and we do appreciate that. Good, I'm glad you brought that up, because That happened a lot last year, didn't it?
Yes, several times, yes.
It's 90 degrees
Yeah.
out.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's weeks where it was 90-some degrees every single day,
Right.
so. And we're very appreciative that the village takes care of us with the money that you give us, and it goes to the lake, definitely to the lake,
Well, it's an exchange for services.
yes.
That's, any other questions? Okay. So we'll have it on the agenda for, and I'll ask for suspension, we'll see how it goes, I'm sure it will go well, in our council meeting,
Okay,
because we can only vote on legislation in a council meeting,
all right,
so,
thank you.
thank you. Anybody else want to add anything from the audience, or anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Mary. Okay, and we put them in order of length. Of course, Carol, Mike, we know you probably are going to be the longest. So Joe Gelati's here, our village engineer from Chagrin Valley Engineering. He wants to give an update on some of the projects, specifically the sidewalk project and the process and what we need to do. I know Nikki and Joe have met a couple times. So I know Joe did put out a memo today, kind of just giving a little overview of that. But Joe, do you want to come to the mic and tell us what we're doing here and the process this month?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start.
Or you
off
can
by-
stay there, I do have the mic
I
down
got
there.
my own mic, so thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, I guess I'll start off by saying I agree with you guys. The Walton Hills Lake is a great thing. We all know that. So, me and my friends still tell stories about swimming in the lake and other stuff that took place down there when we were kids. So, it's a great thing. So thank you to you guys for keeping it going like that. So the business at hand is Northfield Road sidewalk. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to see my memo. There's really not a whole lot to do or discuss here today. It's a little bit of a housekeeping issue, but long story short is, as we know, this is what's called an ODOT let project, so ODOT will bid and administer the construction on our behalf. They've scheduled the bid opening for May 7th. They've recently provided us with what they call their final legislation, and it is just simply standard procedure that the local community needs to pass this final legislation to allow the project, the last stage of the project here, to move forward. That's the actual bid and construction. It is their standard procedure. It's ODOT's standard document. We're actually not allowed to change the verbiage in the document. It's all driven by ORC, and as Nikki's aware, we have to have all of this back to ODOT by April 22nd, so I would recommend that, of course, not tonight, but next Tuesday night, the 14th, they pass the legislation to give us time to get the original copies and everything else to ODOT on time.
We'll have to have a
Project
special
moving.
council meeting.
What's that?
I said we'll have to have a special council meeting.
Yes, please. That would be my suggestion.
Joe, we're also going to have a hearing, correct? Next
You are discussing CDBG, correct?
Yes.
Yes, so the other.
I mean, unless you're not done with this, but
That's all I have to say for
Any-
the sidewalk.
any questions related to that?
Yeah, so CDBG, as I think everyone is aware, they have come out with what we should think of as an additional or a special round of grant funding applications. This works exactly like their annual CDBG program works. I guess the only difference is this one's taking place here now in April instead of the usual fall time. And the other thing is this has a maximum grant request of $200,000 instead of the $150,000 that typically is the case with CDBG. Otherwise, everything is exactly the same. Only our industrial corridor area is eligible, and we should again, apply for grant money to repair the roads in our industrial parks, because as we know, some of them are really rough. This is our only outside funding source that can go towards that, those repairs. And next week, we do need to have our public hearing, just like we do every year, with the sign-in sheets and minutes, as we need to include that with our application to CDBG to indicate that we actually had that public hearing. So.
And then we would vote on the legislation.
Yes, and then the authorizing legislation could be the following Tuesday, which would be your regular council meeting anyways on the 21st. So, thank you.
Joe, I know you'll probably be having an infrastructure meeting, so Ray, I don't mean to get ahead of you, but anything else you'd want to update us while we're here in the committee and council?
Not really. I guess the only other thing I'll mention, we know Ryan Drive is our big paving project for the year.
Right,
so
right,
that
right.
bid opening for us is scheduled for April 24th. So all goes well. Soon after that, we will have information for council on the results of that bid and a recommendation.
Okay. Any questions for Joe relating to? Yeah, you have to come to the mic, Jeff. You know the deal very well.
We allow questions from the back row.
Jeff Alexander, 7312 Walton. Joe, in the last meeting, did all these property owners, are they on board now?
Yes, we have access to all the properties along Northfield Road that we need for the sidewalk.
Okay,
Yes.
and I don't know if I missed, is there a start date?
But no start date yet. ODOT's schedule online doesn't really give that. They simply give the bid opening date, and of course, after that, then they can provide us with some more information on it.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll share that as the project
Absolutely.
goes on. It's gonna be a
Yep.
big
Yeah,
project.
we'll stay in touch with ODOT throughout the process, certainly.
Right. Any other questions for Mr. Gelati while he's here? Okay. Joe, you're more than welcome to stay, or? We all know the answer to that.
I probably should get going. I was telling Miss Canzoni, my mom actually had another knee replacement
Aw.
yesterday, so I should probably give her a call. And hopefully she'll be in shape to swim at the lake here when the lake opens. So hopefully the doctor will give her the all clear to get back in the water, so.
The lake wouldn't be the
That's
same
exactly
if,
what it is.
the lake wouldn't be the same if Marty Gelati wasn't walking to
Swim
the,
team
to the
club
deep
captain, right?
well, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thanks Mayor Don, thanks sir.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, please tell your mom, hope she recovers.
I'll let her know.
Well.
Thanks, Joe.
Mike and Carol, I did put the mic there for you guys if it makes it easier, instead of going to the, I know we're gonna be here a little bit and a lot to discuss, so. Mike, I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. I know the committee and council all knows who you are, but just for record, just kind of
Sure.
give just a little overview on Oswald and you and Carol and
Sure,
your
absolutely.
positions.
Hopefully you can hear me all right through the mic, but Michael Slagle, client manager, representing on behalf of Oswald Companies. I'm joined by Carol Burita, practice leader and senior vice president at Oswald Companies. She oversees the small business practice for the employee benefits division. And I have worked on the Village of Walton Hills as the broker contact for the past, this is my third full year. I believe I came right on board when we were doing open enrollment back in 2023. So I always kind of like to refer to you guys as my starting point and where I was able to cut my teeth with a lot of my benefits experience. So I come here tonight to discuss the renewal of the medical health insurance benefits. They renew on May 1st annually, and Wanted to give an overview of everything we've done over the past couple of months with our work through Anthem since its release, and then provide some opportunities for next steps moving forward May 1st, 2026 for the next 12 months. So feel free to stop me at any point, ask questions, because there's a lot to go over, a lot of numbers. So I'll do my best to keep this at a high level and pretty clear and cut and dry. So, and don't worry, I'm not going to go over every line by line in every page of this book that I've created here tonight, but I think it helps give some perspective of the work that we've done over the past couple of months in the face of the renewals. So the third page here is just an illustration of just recent history. So overall, on a straight average basis, the last several years, Walton Hills has had a very strong renewal history with Anthem relative to what we have seen in the marketplace. It's overall been about a 6.5% average year over year, when typically the marketplace has seen probably about double that. 13 to 15% is typically what we see as a trend industry increase. So looking back, very strong. But in the face of 2026, we did receive the renewal from Anthem sometime in mid-February. And we knew that 2026 renewals had been high from what we had seen in the fall for January renewals, and that trend has continued into 2026 subsequent months. The village was issued from Anthem a renewal of just under 35.5% increase above current rates in their medical renewal. Annualized, that amounts to about $190,000 all in for the year. So our preparation ahead of the renewal was to get information to do a marketplace check and see what other carriers would provide as a quote, as well as to explore opportunities within Anthem too, as a means to find a better option and cost with comparable or as strong benefits. We did also work to negotiate with Anthem on the renewal, and we had to undergo the exercise of marketing the carrier, marketing against other carriers to get some relief. It was very difficult to get significant relief. It ended up being 31% is what Anthem came back at for a final renewal if we were to renew plans as is. So on page 7, and page 6 will illustrate some of the drivers of what caused that 35% increase, but on page 7 is an illustration of how the plans are currently structured as is. There are 2 plans, a PPO option that holds the majority of the enrollment of the village, and then a high deductible health plan or an HSA plan on the right that a few employees utilize. Page 8 is illustrating what that renewal would look like for 2026. Sometimes there are plan changes that Anthem issues that are forced, that we don't have control over. And on the HSA, there is a mandatory IRS adjustment that increases the deductible for in-network coverage by $100 and for family coverage $200. That did incrementally bump up the out-of-pocket, but otherwise this 31% renewal is illustrating no changes to how the plans are currently structured. So rather than accepting just a 31% as is, we wanted to illustrate other opportunities within the marketplace. So page 9 was illustrating some of those efforts. We went to Aetna, Cigna, UHC, Medical Mutual, trying to get a response from all of them. We did get responses from the majority of them. UHC, Cigna, and Aetna did provide opportunities for a quote. However, only Cigna's was anything that was in a competitive range. Both Aetna and UHC issued renewals that were above, a quote that was above the renewal rates, which doesn't really warrant any further exploration. And Medical Mutual declined to quote on the basis of the census that we provided them. So we have the Cigna option here illustrated a little bit later, but wanted to illustrate some other opportunities outside of this as well.
Mike, can I?
Sure.
Because maybe it will help for some of the residents that are listening, some residents here. And I know it's one of the things that hurts us is because we're in that 50 and under market, correct? Yeah. You want to explain it, because just, and also just to kind of refresh all of us here, because you mentioned it, you mentioned Medical Mutual, they didn't want to quote because of how many employees we have. Just, can you just kind of go over that? Where we're driven because of the amount of employees that take the healthcare versus maybe a business that has 100?
Yeah, so I mean, being in a smaller market segment due to the amount of employees that are in the plan, it does have some limitations in what is available and for plan designs that can be available to groups that are in that segment. So with the village being in 50 and under employees, Anthem has just a set amount of plans, as well as the other carriers that they could provide if they offered a quote. So we don't have the ability to just change maybe like one metric on a plan design to offset that. That's something that you would see if you were in 100 or plus. There's opportunities to adjust plans in that manner, but there's limited customization available to handle and pull levers. So our opportunities are to look at other plans in the portfolio, a look at how the contributions are structured between the employer and the employee, and then obviously if there's other carriers at play that provide something competitive. So those are really the levers and opportunities that we look at when doing this. So we went to the full market. Unfortunately, we just didn't get the response. Cigna does have something that we could talk about, but the next page, page 10, was to look within that Anthem portfolio and see, is there something that we can do within Anthem's plans that limits disruption to employees, preserves them in the network, still gives them choice and options, but doesn't place the $190,000 increase that you're facing squarely on the village. So we illustrated here a few options. They're designated 4 through 7 because after we were looking at the market, but wanted to illustrate 2 that we think are the most appealing in terms of a trade-off from, you know, cost containment, but also preserving enriched benefits for the employees. So the next couple of pages, starting with page 12, I'm going to illustrate in more detail option 5 that's on page 10 and option 6, okay, which does have a reduction in spend, and then we can go a little bit deeper into the levers within that. Any questions so far? Okay. So beginning on page 12, this is illustrating option 5. So this would still preserve 2 plans and 2 options for the employees, a PPO and an HSA plan. Anything that's highlighted here in this light orange red is illustrating a change against your current rates. And so this plan, these 2 plan options here are essentially moving both plans to the next plan up in terms of the plan design. So the deductibles increase a little bit. So for the PPO plan, you're currently having a $500 deductible for an individual for in-network, $1,000 for anybody with dependents or families. This option would increase that to a $1,000 or $2,000. And then the out-of-network also changes with that, but nothing else on this plan has changed. So the out-of-pocket maximum, what employees are liable to pay if they have a lot of claims, they would still be, their exposure at risk is still the same as what it is if they were under the 500 or 1,000 plan. So option 5 is showing the least disruption from the PPO standpoint. The HSA is also following that same track. Rather than the $3,400 or $6,800 deductible, this moves up to a $4,000 deductible or an $8,000 deductible. It does increase the out-of-pocket a little more on this plan, but otherwise, this is also preserving the same plan fees for co-pays, any services that employees would utilize. In doing so, this reduces the overall increase to roughly 27.3 above current, which is still 162,000 above current rates. And that's looking at it from a gross perspective, both what the employees of the village pay as well as the village. So again, some decrease in rates by doing that. To further reduce that cost driver, the next page illustrates the current relationship for how much employees pay into the plan and the village. It is structured so far that village employees that are enrolled pay 15% of the premium and the village covers 85%. That's on both plans and that's on each tier of enrollment, whether you are single or a family. This illustration here, and I know it's very numbers heavy, is basically moving that lever from 85.15, and this moves it to an 83.17. So we're asking from that increase on these plans that goes from 27, employees pay 2% more into the premium than they do on the current plans. The net cost, meaning after what employees are paying into the plan, does bring the increase down a few more points, down to 24.3 above current rates for what the village would pay. So this reduces it down to 122,000. And this is the least disruption. It is asking employees to pay more, but we did model this out, looking at more aggressive increases on the employees, and it seemed like it was a little bit significant in the paycheck and payroll deduction. Page 14 illustrates the impact of what an employee enrolled in the plan, what they would be paying more under this scenario.
Okay, so page 14 is is page 13 scenario, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm just looking at the 15 to 17% increase. Is that like a standard 15%? Is that, at 17%? Is that something that most?
So from the context of a group plan, how contributions are shared, I mean, it's wide ranging, but when we evaluate how your plans are structured, a lot of times we'll look at the State Employee Relations Board report that is issued every year, and it scans and surveys all public governments, the state of Ohio, down to townships across the state, and it's got a very high response. And basically, we look at how they benchmark your plans against that data set. So it's surveyed against, I think, 1,300 local governments, as well as, port authorities, other types of government organizations. It's right in that range when we evaluate that.
So it's
So
not high or low, it's just.
yeah, we typically see an employee cost share, and there could be variances depending on the plan structure, but it's usually anywhere from 10 to 18%, I would say, is what you would see. Now that can vary depending on region of the state or the size of the township or the type of plans being offered. But when we evaluate how your plans are currently structured, how your premiums are priced, it's pretty much right in line with
Still
those
in line.
averages, yeah.
Good.
So even a deviation in asking employees to go a little bit more is still within range.
We're right there.
Mhm.
Well, that because we are so small, I mean, I can understand that, but, well, it shows by one company not even wanting to give us a rate, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
So those pages 12 through 14, illustrate that Anthem option 5 in more detail. A second option that, depending on your tolerance, that could be evaluated a little bit closer was option 6. And this is a little bit more aggressive in the changes to the plan, but it does reduce the overall cost more. This would actually keep that same HSA plan as illustrated in the previous scenario, so it would go to that 4,000 or 8,000. But the main driver of cost in change would be that PPO, because that's where almost all the enrollment's at. It's about 90% of enrollment. This scenario puts that PPO at a $2,000 or $4,000 deductible rather than the 5,000 or 500 or 1,000. It does increase the annual out-of-pocket limit a little more, so rather than 4,000 or 8,000, this goes to 4,500 or 9,000. So it is a little bit more of an increase in what the employees are expected to pay if they're using the plan. But incrementally, still, their exposure is basically just the next level up from what they currently have. Page 16 and page 17 undergo the same exercise for this, but page 16, rather than making that movement to a 8317, this is just illustrating preserving that 8515, and all in, the net cost is 107,000. So ultimately, it still lands on that 21.3 in that net cost increase, but employee rates are still increasing because it is still, despite our best efforts, we still have a 21%.
Yeah, our premium increased, so they naturally,
Yeah,
right.
and so page 17 is
It would have
showing,
increased if we stayed,
exactly. So page 17 is illustrating what that looks like for employees as well. So between these two options, the first one, asking more for employees from the payroll perspective and less of a change in plan design. This second scenario, more of a change in plan design, but less of an impact on the payroll deduction for an employee. So ultimately, two different paths, but either one could be an effective means for reducing some of the risk.
I have a question.
Sure.
Mike and Carol, and I don't know, I know, and that's something, I don't know if one of the council members asked, and it's something for you to explain too. Because of the size, you can't request certain records based on, our claims and stuff. So I do want you to expound on that, but before you do that, you do have an idea what ours are. Which one, like anything, the second one, if you're not using the plan, then you want your premiums to be less. But if you're using the plan more and you're paying a little more, but you might be further ahead. Like, where do you guys think our employees fit better in?
So I'll answer the first question.
Okay.
About the claim.
If you want to take the mic, Carol, just so.
So when you're under 100 enrolled, let's just start with that. If you're over 100 enrolled, we get claims data. You get claims reporting, or if you're self-funded, level funded. But because you guys are small, under 50, the only thing we get is we ask, what's going on? Can you help us? And they're very limited what they'll tell us. Because you're a small group, they know if I say, well, you have this condition, you guys might know who it is, and that's PHI, that's a HIPAA violation. So we did ask, and we have a really good rep that works with us, with you, and he said there's just 3 large claims, 100,000, 85,000, and I think the last one was 40,000. Those 3 large claims are large for your size group because your premiums don't outweigh the claims, so obviously that's why you're getting an increase. So we have a hard time because we don't know the detail to come in here and say, this is why you're getting this increase. And so it's hard. They used to, when you're over 50, they used to give us, some of the carriers give us a key account package. Well, the Affordable Care Act laws changed and they won't do that anymore. You have to have 51 enrolled. You guys have 20, 28, 30 enrolled. So you have a ways to go before we can even get like an SB9 report that shows all your premiums paid and what your claims are. That's something we could have requested for you if you were over 50. So that is a true statement. We get no claims for you, nothing, unless you went self-funded or level funded with United Healthcare or something. And that's still stuff that we looked at, and we did look at United Healthcare level funded. You would get a claims report for that, but so it's hard being in small market, and I say small market is 2 to 99 because you don't have a lot of information when you're trying to do a renewal. So, you know, large clients, our large market team, they get claims data, so their conversations are a lot easier. Because not that they're easier, it's just better understanding why we're getting a 29%. You know, we had a 59% increase the other day. How do we explain that to a 20 life group? You can't.
Right.
So it is tough. So as far as the plan designs, Michael and I talked about these quite a bit. And I guess when we had our meeting, we talked about what would be, you know, your employees. Would they rather see lower premium out of their paycheck and maybe a little bit more money that they have to put towards their out-of-pocket max or their deductible? And like you said, some of them may not even use the plan, so they would rather not have as much money taken out of their paycheck. Or would you rather keep their plans the same and have them pay a little bit more out of their paycheck? And I think we said that they would rather have, I can't remember what we said, a plan design change versus more out of their paycheck. A little bit of a plan design change. And the plan designs that we looked at, keep in mind that the out-of-pocket max is what I always tell people to look at, not the deductible. Because you have co-pays. On the PPO plan, you have co-pays. The only thing that goes towards your deductible is in or outpatient services. So if you're somebody that I go to the doctor next week, and then I go get a prescription, and oh, I gotta go, you know, go to a specialist, and then I get a prescription. You haven't touched your deductible at all. But if you got diagnosed with something catastrophic, you've got coverage up to the $4,500 if you're an individual, or whatever that out-of-pocket max is. And it's only, I think, a $500 difference in some of the options we chose, but the premium would be less for you because of how the renewal is. So in my mind, I would think that that's what we could do. We can explain it to the employee. It might be a, you know, $1,000 deductible, but you have, you know, the out-of-pocket max is what you need to focus on and what's coming out of your paycheck. Don't pay an insurance company extra money because you think you need that low deductible, because you're over-insuring yourself, okay? So I think the change in plans to lower your premium is what I would that's what I would recommend, but I need to understand how you feel, how your employees would feel about that.
And Mike, you feel the same way?
Yes.
Not that I know you work, but I know.
No, I
'cause,
understand that.
Mike's right. Kara, I know you've
Yep.
been involved with the village a long time, and you do most of the municipalities, both you in county, but I know Mike, like you said, he's been very involved, so I like to, you know, he's got a very good feel. He meets with the employees
Yep.
and where they're at as far as healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, I can just speak from experience. My most uncomfortable meetings have always, when I'm facing employees, are the ones where they've had to impose a significant payroll deduction increase on them. And
Bless you.
unfortunately, we've had to have those with some employer groups just because they were just in a position where that we just really didn't have any other option. But, you know, plan designs, you're gonna get maybe a handful of people that are gonna hit their maximum out of pocket. And for the large part of them, you know, everybody's gonna feel it in their paycheck 26 times a year. And they'll see the impact one way or another. But those that are actually using the plan, it's definitely usually a handful when we're talking about 30, 31 employees, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Don.
but the benefit of staying with Anthem, they wouldn't have to switch doctors. Like if you went to Cigna,
Sure.
maybe then
That absolutely has.
it doesn't cover to their doctor, their hospital, whatever they're all been
Sure.
doing the past couple years.
Cigna has the same network as Anthem.
Oh,
They-
okay.
The only disruption that we would see with moving to Cigna from Anthem would be prescription drugs, because a lot of people that are taking a specialty medication would have to get a pre-authorization all over again. And I don't know if anybody's had to go through that. And it's not fun, but you have to go to your doctor and say, okay, now you gotta go to Anthem or go to Cigna to get this
It's a lot of
pre-approved. 'Cause
wrangling.
it's a different tiered drug now, so that's the disruption. The doctors, I would say 98–99% of the time, they're the same, because we have a lot of groups with Cigna, you know, today, and we don't, it's very hard to find a doctor who's not a
Yeah.
provider in Cigna, UHC, or Anthem, or even Medical Mutual that's not covered under Cleveland Clinic, UH, or Metro.
But the prescription, that would come from the doctor's office.
Yeah.
They would be the one handling that.
They would handle the pre-authorization. We would just help employees say, this is what you need to do, get your prescription filled, but we need you to talk to your provider. And I've called providers before and told them, please do this, like, they don't seem to know, some of them,
Yeah.
where to go. We give them the number to call to help them out. That's the only disruption.
Just because I was looking ahead and that Cigna option that you gave in the packet on page 18, really keeps everything as close as possible to the renewal. And with a significant more, it's only 21.7% increase.
Yeah.
You know, so those out-of-pockets are the same. You know, their deductibles are the same. It's almost a no-brainer to me with that. If the only thing would be, and that you guys would be able to help them, you know, we wouldn't have to be increasing as much the employees or adding even more to them, and
Sure.
Yeah, but what are we paying? We're paying 27%.
that would be 21% versus the 30.
Option, okay, you guys, go,
So
Page 18.
Page 18 for
you're getting ahead of
Cigna.
ourselves there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the high deductible health plan increase is an IRS increase. That's across the board. We've had to change that for every client. So that's something we can't control. And if you see it, that's the only thing that changed, really, because the prescription drugs still match the level 2 on Anthem. And some people use that level, you know.
So yeah, so the Cigna option is providing a very similar cost as what you're seeing in the option 6 from Anthem, but it's not conceding in plan design here. So and so if you were to do that same exercise of the employer-employee split, it's going to be a very, very similar scenario to what the employees are seeing on page 17, because we're within a percentage point. So to model it out, you're looking at almost identical increases on a per pay basis for employees.
Any other questions? Mike, do you want to keep going? Do you want to go through the Cigna plan a little bit?
Sure, I mean,
Why don't you continue?
yeah, sure. We touched upon a lot of it from the plan design perspective and the overall costs. You know, ultimately, this would be the closest option in terms of a overall, you know, premium option, but also preserving plan design versus concessions that you'd have to make in option 5 or option 6. Cigna, you know, there is a process for implementing and everything, and we would work through that you wouldn't have to do if you were just renewing with Anthem. So we'd have to work with the team to get through that. And then the funding on the Cigna is actually, it's what's known as level funding, which by all means is a different way of being self-insured. So it's got some advantages of being self-insured. You get some a little bit of reporting monthly, so you can see how your claims are running. So that's a nice advantage in terms of some transparency that you're not afforded under fully insured. But, you know, ultimately, there's a little bit of just administrative requirements that would be different that we'd work with the fiscal officers to make sure that that's managed correctly. But otherwise, you know, Cigna, a very broad national network. There would not be, I mean, the very, very little, if any, disruption from a provider standpoint. I mean, it's just in this area with the hospital systems, and we don't really see that. So it's just prescription drugs that process is really.
And with the level funding, if the annual claims are lower than expected, that's overall.
So,
We can
So
potentially
here's-
get money back.
so ultimately, how this works is, the annualized premium here, we'll round it to 720,000. They take a portion of your premium and they put it into a claims funding bucket. And based on that claims funding bucket, they will pay for your claims through that fund. If there is a surplus at the end of it, say in that claims bucket, you have a $50,000 surplus, you're entitled to half of that upon renewing with Cigna. So that's how the arrangements typically go under these plans. If there's a deficit or you're at nothing, you won't receive anything, it's just imposed on a renewal. So, and it's gonna look and feel like fully insured, you know, you're paying your premiums based off of enrollment like you are currently under Anthem. But it's just a different way that dollars are utilized, so there is upside for sure there and a little bit of more transparency under this arrangement, but, you know, level funding is a product you see outside of fully insured, it's available on all the major carriers. They all have those products, but the village has been under a fully insured arrangement with Anthem ever since they moved to it. Everything after this Cigna option was just a robust appendix of different other options that we scoped out, ones that weren't as viable from a financial standpoint, but we wanted to let you know the exercises we undertook, tried to make sure we did our due diligence to try and find solutions that would be meaningful. But ultimately, these options seem to be the most competitive. It's been a very difficult renewal. Unfortunately, it wasn't like subsequent years where we have been able to negotiate it within a very favorable rate, but
Right.
2026 has not been an easy year for most groups with their medical insurance.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Brian.
So with the Cigna option, what would the employee share contribution look like? I don't see a page like you have for the other ones in there.
So the Cigna contribution, it's going to be modeled incredibly close to what you see on pages 16 and 17, because it's within a percentage.
So there's still an increase, they will still have an increase.
Yes. It would be very close to what you see on page 17 if they move to Cigna. Probably incrementally a little bit higher based off of the 85-15 split, because it's a 21-7 versus a 21-3.
Okay. So no matter what, what option we choose, both the employees and the village are going to have an increase. We're stuck with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, we did not see an offer from a competitor that was, you know, significantly, you know, like a single-digit opportunity. Unfortunately, you know, 21 was as competitive as Cigna could provide.
Mayor Colbert?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the, some of the key drivers, on the prescription piece. How does that impact the actual increase, you know, using the retail versus the mail order, formulary versus generic options, and the brand names?
Yeah, so from some of the information that they were able to provide, you know, from the prescription drug standpoint, you know, the claims for those drugs are going to be just assessed on the renewal, just like your medical claims. But what they were able to tell us about prescription drug uses is it was a lot of brand usage, which is higher tier, higher cost drugs. They were able to identify one very high cost drug, which is typically, it's a Humira, it's typically used for Crohn's, colitis, and similar, I believe rheumatoid arthritis. But that drug is significantly expensive, and there's a prescription for that on the plan. So that in itself was 75% of the prescription drug spend, because these specialty medications their costs are astronomical. So that had a significant portion of why the prescription drug utilization contributed to the spend.
But with the including mail order and those other factors, would that reduce?
You can't, well, specialty medication doesn't
Not
have
the
mail.
specialty, I'm
Yeah,
talking about
okay,
the other.
ones,
yeah.
it doesn't, it's still it's cheap, it's on the employee gets the discount because
Oh.
it's mail, but the cost of the drug is still hitting up against your spend. So when we did the information we received, it's like 91% of your pharmacy spend is driven by single source, is by the brand medication. So employees are using brand versus generic. And that could be driven by the provider or what they need to take. Because, you know, when you go to the doctor and your doctor prescribes a medication, you're
Right.
not questioning him. You're just gonna go get it. you
Right.
know? Unless you get to the pharmacy and it's expensive, then you're gonna ask why. So, but,
Okay.
Yeah, the savings that you would gain on a mail order versus a retail prescription, it's minimal from an employee standpoint, and there might be some savings because you're buying more volume of 90-day supply versus 30, but in terms of that being a savings driver for a prescription drug spend, it's not really, it's just more of a benefit for employees to have larger quantities for less bills and a little bit of savings.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Cigna versus Anthem, do you have any information on ease or issues with things like pre-authorizations, not able to get pre-authorizations for procedures, or getting a pre-authorization, then after the fact, having that pre-authorization rescinded, things like that? Anything that the end user?
Typically, we don't see those types of pushbacks or disruptions. You know, we had it covered under this carrier versus, a new carrier not covering it. You'll see shifts maybe like in prescription drugs. It may be in one tier of the formula, like you might be in tier 2 in the Anthem formula, you might be tier 3 in the Cigna formulary, and that's a copay difference there. But in terms of from a medical procedure and following pre-authorization, typically we do not see any types of disruption where, that's usually that starts with the provider working with the carrier to get the procedure going through the proper channels to get the approval. But we don't typically see that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from Mike or Carol?
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
just what is the deadline, just so everybody's aware? What is the deadline?
So plans are set to renew on May 1st. So typically our timeline is to get a response, usually early in the month, hold open enrollment. What we like to do is typically on the front half of the month, but we can work with more flexibility towards that. So ideally, if we had an answer within a week's time, we can prepare and get things ready fairly quickly, like just a few day turnaround and come out. It's usually some more so communication to employees, knowing when we'll be out and giving them time to evaluate choices and make them. And then if there were a change to a different carrier, that information needs to go over, and the carrier does need time for processing that. So it's more flexible when you're staying with the same carrier, but we can work to expedite it if there was a carrier change with Cigna.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
You said with Cigna, correct me if I'm wrong, there wouldn't be too much, if any, issues with providers, the current ones that the employees currently use, things like that?
Correct. Hospital systems, yeah, they're going to all stay in network. You're not going to see
And let's assume for a moment we had 250 employees. Would we still be looking at these types of increases?
Your claims might be more. Your claims could be larger because you have more people, but there might be more room to work with because your premium will be higher. That's where we struggle with smaller groups, because premiums aren't as high for the large claims that are hit up against you. So it just depends on the claims that are coming in. But you'd see them. You would know what they were if you were that large. You get a claims report monthly from Oswald.
Mhm.
There could be other things within a plan that you could look to adjust to, like, you know, if you were saying, well, maybe we make emergency room be a little bit more costly for employees to deter them from going to the emergency room when they should have went to an urgent care. Like, those are drivers that you can pull when you have more enrollment, there's more flexibility, but unfortunately with the size that we're working with, you guys don't have that supported to us.
That's why I asked that, Mr. Mayor. This isn't for today, tomorrow, or next week, but I just want to throw this out, and I don't even know if it's legal. But there are several small communities, and we're all small players, every one of us. I don't know if, thinking outside the box here, if we can get together in a conglomerate, like we do with the ODOT SALT program, for crying out loud, and form one unit for the purpose of medical insurance, and apply as one unit.
We had talked about that last year or the year before.
Because something's got, we have no freedom to do anything. We're just stuck. We gotta take what they give us. And we don't have, as you said, we don't have any power to say, okay, well, what if we tweak this here, tweak that there? And, it's a bad deal all around. It's a bad deal for the village. We don't have necessarily the money to do it. We're looking at a big deficit this year, probably next year, hopefully not, but we'll see what happens. And the employees are gonna take it. Because this, as far as I'm concerned, it's they do have a good healthcare system, but they're not getting rich off of Walton Hills, being employees of Walton Hills, and this is as far as I'm concerned, it's a pay cut for them. And I just want to look into other ways of trying to do things rather than saying, well, we only have 30 employees, sometime in the near future, like this year, see what we can do about it.
Well, I know you guys had brought that up. I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
Mayor.
go ahead.
That you guys had brought that up. What happened with that pilot program?
So, captive.
The captive, yeah. There was a captive they were trying to put in place with municipalities, and they couldn't get enough to go in. So they put it on hold. So I know we have Brian in our companies, he's trying to pull that together again. Him and I talk quite a bit about stuff like that, because he usually runs all the municipality. He gets them to come together. I'm gonna ask him about it and see if it's something that they're gonna think about for 26 into 27, and we'll let you know. But I know they had a hard time getting municipalities to jump on board, because it's unknown,
Right, and I remember when you guys had talked about that, you suggested hold off
Yeah, 'cause
for the
we
first
wanted
year
to
till let's see what
Yeah, 'cause
happens
they had
with
some
it.
groups that went in it, and then, because it was a captive, it didn't seem to be going very well from what they told us. So I'll ask them again and see if there's anything else, because we do have other,
And it was self-funded too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the
issue, because,
That's the
Yeah,
issue.
we're not big enough to be self-funded.
yeah, I was gonna say,
We
we
can't,
could
we're
tell
not
you
even
Well,
close.
that's what that was
I'm
about.
not talking about that. That's not even.
Well, that was the only thing out there though.
Right, but I'm talking about looking for something in the future that we could possibly do. And I don't even, like I said, I don't know if it's possible, I don't know if it's legal. But I think
well, we'd have to,
it behooves us to
yeah,
think
No,
about it.
and we'll definitely ask about it, because Brian and I talk about that quite a bit, especially for small groups, because if you pull people together, you have to have a fiduciary that's gonna be the main driver, so you'd have to get a carrier to jump on board. Like we
Mhm.
have, at Oswald, we have the 51+ groups in our ERC health program. That's a consortium of groups, 51+ lives that pull together, and there's certain things you have to do, but their renewals are all based on the entire population together.
Mhm.
So if your company's running poorly, but your company's running well, it offsets each other.
Mhm.
So Oswald's done that, has done that. That's 25 year, 30 years that program's been in place.
Mhm.
But it's not something that we don't talk about, so we'll find out if there's something we could do.
Didn't the Chamber of Commerce have something for small businesses that
Code.
they all signed up and, you know,
It's-
I have 10 employees,
Yes.
somebody else had 10, and
So-
they got us good rates.
So, one of the things was that the way Anthem does all the carriers count, they look at different numbers for how they count your lives enrolled. And one of the things that you were in, you grew a little bit, was because Anthem changed their methodology of counting. So you were in a MIWA, which was one of those risk pools, up through your 2025 renewal. So this year was the first year of it. They looked at your total number of employees, so your seasonal and your part-time who aren't even benefits eligible, and they looked at that count. So because of that, it actually puts you in the segment right outside because you were too large for that when they're counting your part-timers and seasonal employees. So it took you outside of that pool. So it, in a way, worked against you because it doesn't have that pool protection. You're standalone under this fully insured umbrella now, so.
But when we went out to market, we did market you in the 2 to 50 space.
Yeah, because everybody's looking at
And-
you differently. So Cigna's looking at you like as a smaller group. Although that's level funded, it's not a pool. It's entirely different than that MIWA that you were in under the Anthem beforehand, so.
The medical mutual is cozy. It's medical mutual's cozy, and Anthem's the MIWA, and then
UHC has their own.
has their own MIWA. They put those together when ACA changed their laws, because everybody was age banded under ACA, and then they did this to pull small groups together to help offset the cost. So, yes, you were in it, you were out, and now we quoted you back, and because you were considered under 50, all the quotes we got, you're either in a MIWA or not, except Cigna's is a level funded plan, it's not a MIWA.
Also, can Cigna turn around, if we were to switch to Cigna, can they turn around and decline coverage for one of our employees?
No.
No, they do accept all.
Oh, yeah, there's no pre-existing condition, look back or anything like that,
Okay.
right?
One more, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, use the mic, John.
How about the dental or eye? Are we due for those renewals yet, the dental or eye insurance?
So the eye insurance renews on a calendar year basis. The last page actually does show a couple of other small like your renewals for dental and your life insurance also renew on a 5/1 basis. They are considerably smaller in terms of the spend. MetLife did, that has the dental policy, did call for a 5% increase. Annualized, that's all in, you're looking at $1,400 more a year. That's basically what you're seeing in the marketplace for dental renewals year over year, is those 5 to 6 to 8% is what we typically have seen. And then the standard, which holds the life and accidental death and dismemberment coverage, that did have a 12.86% increase. We did try to market that just to see if we could find opportunity, and everybody declined on that one because the retirees are it's very hard to place coverage when there's a retiree policy, and that's the reason for why that was declined with all the other carriers. So we were hoping that we could find some savings, but we were shut out.
Does everybody remember that? I know Brian, you want to explain it, because it no longer exists, because we did amend that.
Mhm.
At one time, employees got life insurance even after they retired.
Mhm.
That no longer exists,
Mhm.
but we still have employees that are still living, that are former employees, and so we're covering them. That is what
Yes, there's
they
like
were
4 or
referring
5,
to.
4 or
4 or
5,
5.
yeah.
But that legacy eventually, you know, we just like a lot of municipalities had that, but just couldn't support it anymore, so we did make an amendment. I think me and you were both on council at that
Mhm.
time. So,
Mhm.
be nice to do, but you just can't do that anymore. You just can't afford to do it anymore. That was the reason. So we have, what do you say we still have, Carol or Mike?
I probably said 4.
I think it was 4. I'm pretty sure
Last time
there's
we
no
checked.
more than 5, or it's 4 or
Mhm.
5.
Right, so we are renewing these on May 1st, or no?
Those two,
Okay.
dental and life, yes,
All right.
but the vision does not.
Yes.
Did you, and I'm not sure exactly where council's at with this, but I'm getting a feel, you know, we're looking at, getting it, what we do know, we budgeted for 20% increase, not that we wanted to do that, but, at the time we did the budget, Mike and Nikki talked, and, Oswald suggested they weren't getting a good feeling from other municipalities that were renewing earlier in the year, that they were seeing high increases. So we did budget, right now, we have budgeted a 20% increase over last year in our budget that you approved, okay? So I think what the goal was trying to get it as close to that so we don't have to appropriate any more money. Of course, we'd like to get it as close to no increase if we could, or a 5 or 6 or 7, but that just isn't realistic. We have something in it, and it's what everybody on this day has said. We want to minimize the impact to the village, but at the same time, we appreciate our employees, and we want to minimize the impact to them too. And that's why we did have a few meetings, and both Melissa and Nikki, who are employees who carry the insurance, weighed in on it. I myself and you up here, none of us have insurance through the village, so we're not affected by it, but they both had, you know, are able to, as employees that carry the insurance, we're able to give some good feedback to Mike and Carol on that. So it seems like we're trying to get to that 20%. You got the 2 plans that are both coming in, the Cigna plan at 21%, and the change in the deductible on the Anthem plan at about 21. There's some
Yeah.
increments after that, but
Sure.
they're both coming in very close. Is that kind of where we're at right now, those 2 plans?
So I would
And the reason I say that is if that's the case, do you 2 want to dive into those 2 a little bit, so it will help the committee even make a better decision on what you think, speaking for the employees or for yourself, what do you think, you know, because I think right here where everybody's kind of like, well, those are 2 good plans and thing, but I just wanted to get your opinion, and maybe that will help narrow it down for the committee.
Sure. I mean, you're getting closer to what you currently have with Cigna. I mean, at just a very high level. Anthem, there is some concessions. Both are going to have robust programs for helping manage chronic conditions and support around employees. One notable thing about Cigna is that they do not have physical ID cards. Sometimes that's a problem we hear with groups that use Cigna, is that they don't like the fact that You have to get it electronically, either through, you know, your employer portal or keeping it on your phone through an application. Cigna did away with that a couple of years ago. So that sometimes is a grievance that we hear, but Anthem still issues those. But both have pretty good dedicated support in terms of a customer perspective. There is technology, both have apps that employees can use if they're technology based. You know, we don't really hear too much complaint either way from anybody getting claims approved or anything. If so, you know, it's usually something we have to work out, and maybe it's a provider issue actually. A lot of times it starts thinking that it's an insurance claim, but a lot of times maybe a provider hasn't filed it correctly and caused some confusion there. But, you know, it's really, you know, do you want to keep status quo as much as possible with the plan, or do you want to keep what you're familiar with, knowing it's Anthem and what you've had for like probably 5, 6, I think it's like probably 7 years now. And if you're not using the plan, it's probably negligible either way. But if you're really using the plan, Cigna's probably going to be a little bit closer to your experience of what you currently have had.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Just for my 2 cents, as far as the village is concerned, Cigna has the least amount of increase by 6.4%. And as far as the employees are concerned, it keeps everything pretty much the same. And without having if we went with Plan 5, it would double their deductibles, and they're out of network claims. So that's my 2 cents. I would vote for Cigna at this point without any more information that one is significantly worse than the other. I mean, we're getting as close as we can.
But weren't we looking at option 6 and Cigna?
Which options are we?
5,
Yeah.
right? Even if we looked at,
Because option 6 is 21%. That's why when you said 27, you kind of figured.
so, okay.
Let's get straight with
5
two
in
options.
Cigna or 6 in Cigna?
6 in Cigna, I thought
Okay.
is where we were headed.
Exactly.
So
I apologize.
that's all right. From an
It's
overall,
still,
yeah, an overall plan spend, I mean, we're talking about gross, it's a $2,000 difference across the whole year, so, but, I mean, they did mention prescription drug spend. If you're gonna be taking prescription drugs under the Cigna plan, most people are gonna be in the PPO, they're gonna be paying more on their copay for their prescription drugs. That's gonna be the impact they'll see, because on Anthem, those copays are a little bit, you have the choice of getting it at a lower rate. So from a utilization standpoint, that is a
And
change.
for our group, we're using the prescription plan.
Right,
At least from what I'm saying, those are the things we want to hear from you guys
Yeah.
that will help
okay,
make
yeah,
that
that helps.
decision. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I
yeah,
don't
I
want to
mean,
miss that
there is
because
prescription drug use, and those copays are higher with Cigna.
Anthem has 2 options. They have level 1, level 2, and it depends on the pharmacy you go to. So level 2,
Right.
with today, your plan you have today, level 2 copays match the Cigna copays of the plan we're looking at. So some employees use level 2 because it depends on where they go, so they may not notice that difference. Somebody's using, I think it's Giant Eagle's level 1, it's a $10 generic. If they use the Cigna plan, level 1's a $20 generic, so it's a $10 difference.
I've also had on my insurance, I go to Mark's, and sometimes the pharmacist will say, oh, you're paying an awful lot for that. And she goes to that Good RX
Yeah.
and keys it in and says, oh, here's a better price. So I don't know if the employees know,
They
wherever
do,
they do
well-
go, if they know to talk to their pharmacist when they've got something maybe at $50 or $40, that they might be able to get it for 12.
Talk about that.
Yeah, and Anthem has the,
Insure.
the InsureRx program, so if they're finding that there is, like, the Good RX that provides a discount, they can apply that to your plan for savings.
They do that automatically
So
Oh,
at the pharmacy, Anthem does.
Anthem does have that as a feature on their prescription, that is.
I don't have Anthem, so I don't know that,
But that
but,
Good RX is, that you see the cards at the pharmacy, and everybody, a lot of people use them, and we've talked about that, because we gave out flyers one time about Good RX to people, because we know we take, some people come in and tell us, I take this medication, we're like, ask for a coupon,
right.
so.
Carol, talking about the prescriptions and the tiers, however, Cigna, all of their tiers are 20, 50, 80, and 25%.
That's tier 1 is 20, tier 2 is 50, tier 3. So generic is tier 1,
Okay.
brand formulary is tier 2, brand is tier 3, and specialty medication is part of tier 4.
Our employees are gonna see that. I mean, cause they use, they're not using generic, according to our study,
Yeah.
They're using tier 2, most likely.
from what I'm seeing, our drivers, they are not using generic, they're using.
Yeah, the
Right. So
generic
that's what, you
utilization
gotta
is-
look at what,
Right.
I mean, that's,
Well, that's what
Yes.
I'm trying to understand.
Right,
Because
right,
under
exactly.
the retail tiers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's level 1 and level 2.
Yeah, so that's depending on what pharmacy you go to. With Anthem has 2 different pharmacy levels. So right now, if you were an employee and you're using tier 3, which is the brand formulary, it's $70 copay, Cignet's 80. They would see that $10 difference.
Mhm.
If somebody's using tier level 2 today with Anthem,
Mhm.
and they're going to that tier 3, it's an $80 copay, Cigna's exactly the same, so they won't see anything.
okay.
It's the person that's using the level 1 pharmacy that would see the $10, it's a $10 difference. And like we said, that's usually the issue with carriers, every carrier has a different formulary and a different copay.
Right,
You
so
know.
we really can't compare that apples to apples, not knowing where the employees are going, or
Right.
what their
Yeah,
tiers are.
unless we ask them.
Yeah, and that's the problem, you know, we don't have that access
Yeah,
because
we don't
of
know
our
how many are
small
using level
Yeah.
1
size.
pharmacies versus
Right.
level 2 pharmacy.
Mhm.
But, yeah, that could be a shift, you know, you could be classified in tier 2 brand for Anthem, and you could be tier 3 in Cigna,
Cigna.
or vice versa, you know? There's usually shifts, yeah, every carrier has their own formulary with the pharmacy,
Yeah.
PBM that they work with, so.
Melissa, Nikki, don't be afraid, I know you're not, but weigh in if you want. And the reason I say that, because, you know, you deal with the employees, you know, other employees like you, and you hear, you know, just like I hear what they like about the healthcare, just like Mike does, because he comes in on a regular basis, but, you know, help us out. We'd love to hear from you, you know, if you think, you know, am I right, Council? I'm just trying to help
Mr. Mayor?
drive this a little bit.
The different levels with the retailers, wouldn't it be in, to even educate the employees to say, hey, reach out to Cigna, and which are
He does.
preferred pharmacies?
Yeah.
Employees even doing that, which would save, you know, I know medical mutual, or Anthem right now is CVS, that is the preferred pharmacy, so that's where you go to get your best, you know, so that could be something the employees could be educated on too, which would save them.
And we would do that, we would provide like a detailed flyers on prescription drug,
Right.
like, we would do that. We would get this from Cigna, and then we would make sure the employees took it. And we usually ask employees, do you have any questions? And we do have some employees that actually reach out to us every once in a while and ask us about their prescription, so, you know, they're not shy.
But what I'm asking, Melissa, is, and Nikki, is from an employee standpoint, you know, because I think from a council standpoint, from us, we're trying to, you know, either plan, we're paying, we're gonna have a 21% increase if we went with either one. So we're trying to decide which one is the least. We can look at, you know, like Councilman Allen said with the deductible, we do see that difference, okay? But there's also some things, what you said, as an employee, is it more valuable to you to say, hey, I'd rather stay with Anthem, or I'd like my plan to stay exactly the same, go with Cigna? Not that you represent, I just don't know if any employees are watching this, you two don't represent them all, just like, you know, we try to do what the best for the whole, but as an employee, we'd like to hear at least where you're at.
Right.
You know, that's all, that was my question.
Well, I'm sure we
you know.
would all like our premiums to remain as, you know, efficient as.
Well, either one of those plans, the premium's gonna be the same.
Yeah.
Not as what you had, but we have a 21% increase, so your premiums are going up. But you're paying 15% in either one of those. It's a matter of whether we go with Cigna, am I saying it correctly? Whether we go with Cigna, which pretty much keeps the plan the same as deductibles, same out of pocket. But with Anthem, you have an increase, which according to Mike and Carol, most employees aren't gonna really use it. It's not really the deductible to be
Yeah.
so concerned about, but you're staying with the same plan that you've been with. That's where we're isn't that where we're at, guys?
Mr. Mayor?
I mean, it's up to you, go with either one, I'm glad we're getting closer to that.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
point.
can I, if I were an employee and I were given these options of either Six or Cigna, I'd have to make the decision, is it worth, and it's a crapshoot, really. Is it worth me paying $10 more for my prescription drug? Does that outweigh the chance that I'm going to pay a $500 more annual out-of-pocket limit if I'm single, or $1,000 if I've got a family, and my annual deductible is goes up from $500 to $2,000. So I have to weigh those two, and according to you, you're saying that, are you telling us that most of our employees would rather not pay the increase in, or I should phrase it like that, our employees use more of the prescription than they get close to the annual out-of-pocket?
The vast majority, it's hard to really give a clear answer. What we do know is 90% of everybody's enrolled going to be using a PPO plan. The utilization, most people, when they're using that type of plan, are going to be paying co-pays for office visits and co-pays for prescription drugs. Inpatient and outpatient will happen to, a handful to, maybe, who knows to say what that percentage is, but it's unlikely everybody's going to be going to those deductible services. Regardless of whether you go with that Anthem option or Cigna, your payroll deduction, assuming we keep these levels the same, they're gonna be very little difference between them. So if we go the day that, we pursue Anthem, your payroll deduction goes up, you keep your Anthem plan, but you know that you're gonna pay a little more if you have an inpatient or outpatient claim. Everything else is staying the same. If we know that you're going with Cigna, they come in, they know that their payroll is gonna go up, and you're like, okay, you're changing my carrier. I don't have a card. I won't have a physical card. That is a gripe. We do hear.
Yeah, I can't believe you're bringing that up.
I should.
Is that really an issue? But it's funny because sometimes
It's
it's
just having something
convenience.
in hand.
People will pay for convenience, and I understand that. I mean,
I will
it's
s-
unbelievable, but I know people that won't even change just because they don't want to change. Oh, I don't really like my doctor, why don't you change?
Yeah.
Well, I've been going to him or her for 20 years.
And I
Well,
probably-
if you're not happy, change.
And I probably wouldn't have ever even brought it up, but I do have, this was a very big pain point of Cigna went digital only a couple of years ago, and, every year I've been asked by a group that stays with Cigna, is there a way we can get a physical card? And you have to go and print it out yourself, or just
But you
use
would be
the
able
means of
to-
technology. But people do it.
You'd be able to talk them through that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's not possible.
But, yeah, it's,
And
but,
from what you said too, we really can't compare the prescription plans because each company has their own formularies, their own tiers. So They could be going up, they could be going down, if we switch
But
to
ultimately, yeah, the cost that they would pay if they're utilizing prescription drugs between one plan and the next, you know, it's $10, it's $20 a month, so that could be, what, $100 to $200 in difference from
And
one.
of course, you guys would be able to advise them about mail orders to help save
Yeah.
with, because you get a 3-month supply at that time.
Sure.
I can just give you, and it doesn't matter, I'm just glad we're getting closer to that, we got close to that 20, because that, we just could not afford that large increase. So I appreciate getting us to that point. Not thrilled about it, none of us are, I mean, we would love to see
Yeah.
what we're used to, but we also understand, you shop it around, that is what's there, and we have to make a decision. I can just tell you, at least sitting up here, the biggest fear and just nobody likes to change carriers. I can tell you that right now, but that's up to you guys what you want. I'm good, but that is always a fear, and I don't think it should be. It sounds like it will be almost the same, you know, same doctors, same everything. But that always is. I mean, that is, when you tell somebody you gotta change insurance, and you tell them the same, but they got a different carrier, that just kinda, that, you know, but, I don't know, maybe.
And throughout
I
this,
think we got two good options, I guess we just gotta make them.
sure, and throughout this process, we have constantly been going back to Anthem, seeing if we could find additional savings. I mean, that 31 was after a second, after we had met, we were at a 32.5, I think, when we had talked to you at the end of March, but we went back again, seeing if we could get, because it's been such a difficult renewal process that anything that we could have negotiated, you know, through Oswald has just been
Can I ask,
very difficult.
can I ask you and Carol this, okay? And I'm just throwing it out, and, you know, 'cause I don't wanna, you know how I feel, getting more people involved, but do we have, would it be fair to poll, since we have such a small group of employees, for Mike just to put a small thing out and say, hey, you know, you're gonna see an increase, we know that, and we're all seeing an increase because we have a 21% increase, okay? And they pay 15% of the premium, so whatever that increase is, that follows. But just kinda explain the two and say, hey, you gotta respond within a couple, we're just trying to poll the employees. I mean, I don't know, how do you guys feel about that? Do we have time to do that, Carol?
We do, it would be quick. I don't know how you would, you know, it's how you communicate with this.
An email,
Yeah,
we would just do
okay.
an email.
And
I mean, am I
should be
off
2
base by
questions.
that, guys, or by drawing? And we got such a small poll.
No, actually, I'd like to have the week, because I was thinking myself, I'd like to talk with some employees.
Yeah,
Well, you
know,
wouldn't have
see
to if we
which-
do the poll.
Right, yeah, no,
Yeah. we do that, we have done that. with
Because they
groups.
need to respond.
Yeah.
If they don't respond, then they.
They don't respond, then they can't, then they
That's
can't
right,
complain.
it's like saying, you go to vote, if you don't wanna vote, then you
Right,
don't, then you get what the group gets.
But we can ask them, you know, you do ask them, would you rather see a change in carrier to keep your plans the same? Or would you rather stay with your current carrier and have a little bit more of an increase in your pay? You know what I mean? Like, we would ask them certain questions, and we have surveys at Oswald that, we have tons of them. We pull what we want, we give it to you, and Melissa, and you guys would tell us this looks good, we give it to you, get it out, have them get it back to you, and we could even ask in there, you know, what pharmacy do you go to? Somebody could tell you, CVS, Giant Eagle, and then we can check to make sure that we are giving people what they want, but we could do it.
I think that would be great.
I think
mean,
it's fair.
I think that's fair, because what we were at, we got,
Right.
both of us, I think everybody here agrees, we got two good plans. Now, if we all had that insurance, I think we could all make a good decision, because we carry it, we could say that and say, well, I want this, and then we could go with the majority. But why not? Okay, good, if we have time to do that, Carol,
Yeah,
and listen, Nikki, what do you, as employees, great idea, don't you think? And you- the
Mr.
other
Mayor?
thing- Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, only because I don't want to assume what the change, how it would affect the employees.
Right.
I don't have any feedback on that.
I got no idea.
I know that we did change, was it dental we changed not too long ago?
2 years
2
ago.
years ago.
2 years ago, and we did poll them. And they were concerned, I think the biggest concern that I heard was, is my dentist in the network?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good
And we can even put a spot
plan.
on that sheet to say if you have a doctor that you're going to, that you're concerned about, put his name and location, and we will ask to confirm they're in network.
And personally, I personally wouldn't have a problem changing plans, I don't think. But that may affect someone else in a different way.
Correct.
I think we can, have a consensus. I think we can't go wrong there, because we both agreed we're not gonna get better, we got two plans at 21%, we're not gonna get better than that without making a big change. I know yesterday, or when did we talk? Me, you, Melissa, and Mike.
Yeah, I mean, we were
We
looking at.
started with 20%.
We looked at option 5 and 20%, and we got down to, the net cost, we got to 20, but the burden on the employees was
So
so
high.
tough that, I mean, we didn't even illustrate it, and we're like, we gotta try and find some middle ground here. And that's why that wasn't really pushed forward. And we showed it an 83-17 split, because initially we scoped it at 80-20, and it got you to the number, but that'd be probably a very hard increase on the payroll side for an employee to stomach.
And you get it, and Brian, Councilman Spitznagel, I mean, said, you get a yearly increase, and then the yearly increase is taken away, plus some. You
Right.
know, and as an employee, you feel like you're spinning with wheels. Well, good. So then, we'll wait, and we'll just, or Carol, if you want to, either way, put it out there. Either way, whatever you think is the fastest, I mean, we don't really need to look at it if you want to expedite it.
We'll
If
get you
it's-
something tomorrow to look at,
Yeah.
and if, you know, it's not gonna be a long, it's gonna be a really short yes or no, and then we don't even put a comment section if somebody wants a comment. Love to see that. No, I like, we do that quite a bit for groups that are in your position, they don't know what to do, and they don't wanna speak for the employees. And you're
Okay.
small enough that if you were larger, I'd be like, don't do it. Because
Right,
you're gonna
right.
get too many people with too many different opinions. But,
Let's talk about, it. We should put a time frame on it, because we are restricted. Otherwise, it might not, we want to get the response, you know, so maybe put, what would be a fair couple days?
yeah, I was just gonna say, if we can get you, which we can, if we can get you something tomorrow, you can get it out tomorrow, I would say, you know, by Friday. It shouldn't take somebody more than 2 days to answer something
No.
like that.
Right.
And then you can just let us know
Mhm.
what
Good.
the majority.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, will it show the actual plans as well?
I think the biggest thing might be going from, let's say, a $500 deductible and 2,000, they're not gonna look at that maximum out of pocket that, you know, you have that 500, they're gonna see 2,000 plus the premium increase. You know, I think that should really be.
Well, you can't,
I can-
they can call, go ahead, Mike.
I can tell you 2 observations from the last 3 years of open
Yes.
enrollments that I've noticed here from your population when they come out. Oftentimes, employees don't know, especially when there was more than the 2 plans, because we're now down to 2, but oftentimes they didn't know which plan they were in. So we had to tell them. We usually brought a roster, you're in this plan.
Yeah, they didn't know.
And also, the question we got asked the most is, what's changing? So those are the things that we hear when we come here. What's changing, and, you know, what plan am I in? So I don't know how much showing a side-by-side, I mean, you know, it
Well,
could help, but,
It's like the game, would you rather, right?
Right.
You ever
Yeah.
play that? Would you rather pay a little bit more
Right.
in your prescription drugs, or not, and take the chance that you're gonna be out more money in a maximum amount of pocket?
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's insurance. I mean, it's insurance just like car insurance.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
if you pay for a lower deductible, that's less coming out of your pocket, but you get a better premium if you got a $1,000 deductible.
Well, some people, and I don't know the demographics, some people might be planning on having an operation. I don't know, some people might be planning on having a baby. I don't know. I don't know what the demographics are, you know, in specific. So that may be a driver. I don't know.
we'll get
You
some.
know how, Carol, you've done enough, you got
Yeah.
your
We'll
mic
get
on,
some
you-
questions pulled together, and then
Yeah.
we'll share them with you, and then get them out. At least you're asking, so that the people that do wanna say what, you know, you might get quite a few back that say, we don't wanna switch carriers, please don't do that. Or, you know what, if you can save us a couple dollars in our paycheck, we're okay, cause that means you still have good coverage. This is still good coverage, it's not bad coverage, you know? And we'll confirm, you know, if somebody has a provider that they're concerned about, we can search that all day long. And
I
we've
know.
done that for employees, you know?
I know, Carol, when we started, like I said, out there, and Shawnee, you might see it, but too, is a lot of places are going to a 70-30 plan.
Yeah,
I mean, that, you never heard of that 5 years ago, 70-30, and you're seeing that is coming out there, and that's to help lower the premiums for employees and stuff. So an 80-20 plan is still, that's a,
yeah. It's, healthcare is tough right now for everybody. And if you got, I mean, you know, if you're on a company plan, even with us at Oswald, they don't ask us questions like that. I wish they'd have surveyed us and they moved us from, you know, carrier to carrier. We just find out when we do open enrollment.
That's what happens to me.
that's
You
what
know,
happens.
we
Couple
do this for a
years, you know,
living, you
what's
know.
That's
but
what
we're-
happens to me.
Yeah. But we're a large company too, so it's a little different.
That's, and you have to, but we have that option, so
Yeah.
it's nice that we can, we can do that. You know, just to kind of get back, because when we started this conversation, you know, paying 15%, the employees benefited like us. We've had small premium increases, you know, at that 6-7%. So that always helped them. It's unfortunate. Both of us are taking a hit. It's not just, you know, that, and we're not passing that down. We automatically are getting it, but we're not, we're keeping it at 15%. That's, both plans are keeping it that, whether we go with the Cigna or the Anthem, so. Okay, very good. Anything else, Mike? Is everybody good with the dental?
Yeah.
And the vision? That was a small increase. We certainly don't,
Comparatively, much smaller spend.
yeah.
You know, pennies.
And is
bucks.
everybody pretty happy with those plans? I mean, they always want, everybody wants.
We never get any feedback
Yeah.
about anybody having problems.
Okay,
with
that's
it.
what I want to
You
hear.
know, dental, like 2 years ago, you know, if people were asking about the dentist being the network, dentists are more picky about the networks they can track with than the
My,
doctors.
my
and hospitals.
dentist doesn't even
Yeah.
accept,
Yeah,
And people don't change dentists.
yeah. We,
I have been going to the same dentist.
so
for
when you change
years.
dental, sometimes
My
that's
wife
more
and I-
disruptive than any type of medical change, but,
I had to
Yeah.
change dentists, he died.
so.
Here, one question. Could you
Yeah.
give us the total amount of its premiums for annually for the dental and life, just so we can put it in the legislation?
Yes,
Okay, we can send
I
that
can
to
punch
you.
you, yeah.
Just send them the renewal.
Yeah, and you can send them over to Nikki. If you don't have it, that's fine.
She probably has that, so.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
fine, that's fine.
Any other questions for Mike, Carol?
Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome.
Any questions from anybody watching the live stream? Good. Well,
thank you for
that-
putting this all together. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting it together.
Wish we had better
I know.
outcomes, but, we've been
What-
trying.
Well, we're gonna get back in line. Next year, you're gonna come with a
Yes.
0, or maybe 2%?
I was gonna
That's
ask
when-
that.
yeah,
What's
that's
the,
if you move, that's when we go back and get you back where.
I was gonna ask that. What's the prognostication for 27, 28? No,
Yeah,
nobody
I don't know.
knows?
Right now,
Universal healthcare.
well, trend is 18 to 20% right now, so it even went up a little bit more. Because the healthcare.gov rates went up 18% in January. That's the individual market. So if those are going up 18%, that's an individual person. Group plans all went up. All of our renewal discussions this year and for January have been awful. I am retiring next week. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you?
No.
Carol, you've been saying that for a while.
But
I
We all
know.
have.
One of these days, I am gonna tell you.
It was,
But we would miss you, but we're okay, because,
Michael does a
we,
great
we,
job,
we,
yes.
we feel great with Mike.
Except when he
and-
breaks the
and
stapler.
the support of Oswald, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a great company, and
Yeah.
you know the market, and
Oh, we care, we do care
how
about
many
it.
municipalities do you do?
We have, let's see, one, two, probably close to 10 on our side, and then the larger, we have a couple in the larger, I think Independence is in large market, aren't they? They're over 100, they sit in the large market, Parma.
Yeah,
um,
and we're kind of unique municipality,
Yeah.
our unique
The one
size.
you have, Russell Small, isn't it? Russell?
yeah, Russell Township.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good. Any other questions before they leave? Or you can stay. Any questions for Mike and Carol from residents that are here? Okay. No, nothing. Okay, well, you're more welcome to stay. All right, now I get it.
Yeah.
Like Joe, what was Joe's excuse?
His mom
His
had
mother.
surgery.
Oh, that was a
Mother.
pretty good excuse.
Yeah.
He better call Mom.
He should drive over there.
Oh, there you
That
go.
was close enough.
Yeah.
We have to go work on our survey.
Right.
Good answer.
You're right, that's a good reason.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mike, thank you, Carol.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we can get through this pretty quick, the legislation here. John, you want to talk about this cybersecurity? This is different than what we passed. You know, we passed our cybersecurity with, but this is, John, you just want to think Michael talk about that a minute?
Oh, sure, maybe.
Since you put it on there?
Yes, well, I think Nikki and I have been talking about it for a while. We have to do it by, I think, June 1st.
It's
Or
mandatory,
thereabout. Yes, and it's, is it the auditor who's dictating this? So that, yeah, well, for obvious reasons, they want us to have a plan in place, because a lot of communities have been hit with ransomware, and they want to have everybody, all the employees to be on the same page, basically, as to what to do if they should get a threat or a ransom demand, and there has to be a chain of command, and there can't be any money spent unless council approves it. There has to be a little more I don't know whether we have authenticators or not here, because I don't use the Walton Hills website, or not website, email, but they want you to develop a multi-factor authentication, which I think most of you know what that is, right? I mean, you gotta go through an extra step of security before they'll turn on your email for you. You know, like for me, for example, I have one. They call me and to verify it's me. So before then, I have to press the right button, or they won't let me in. But there's other ways to do it as well. Yeah, but anyway, that's the easiest one. That's why I do that. But anyway, they want us to receive training and awareness. Again, there's some restrictions. Village Council has to authorize payments. Nobody can just pay without your approval. You have to report to the appropriate authorities. You know, if you do within 7 days, if you've received, and the Department of Public Safety and the Office of Homeland Security, if you do get a cybersecurity incident, and the Auditor of State, and the actual plan is you know, we could have a more detailed plan than this little outline, but it has to remain confidential, because otherwise you'll alert the criminals to what your cybersecurity steps are, and therefore it's not a public record. So if anyone requests it, they're not entitled to see it. So we can develop a little more detail as you know, what our multi-authenticator code is, the process is, what you know, other things like that, like monitoring, logging, you know, vendor oversight. We have to have some policies, more policies, right, Nikki? And
It's gonna be a policy summer.
yes, and so I've got a couple of more detailed ones that I could share. I mean, it doesn't have to be crazy, but it has to be detailed.
Go ahead, Ron.
2 questions. Number 1, is there a timeline on this?
We were talked about that. I think we're gonna give it a first reading this time, maybe work on it a little bit.
Yes.
We got a couple of months to get this, you know, to look at it a little closer, and, you know.
We're just gonna ask for first reading, and continue to move forward, because we have to get the policies in place and stuff too. But this is the first thing that the Ohio, it's part of the Ohio Revised Code, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That we have to do, so.
Second question, Mayor, is our current vendor up to this task? Or do we need to look for a different vendor for our email and things like that?
From what I understand, they are up to the task, because that is also what Love Insurance went through with them. Is that right, Nikki? That's some of the things we have to check, but they just have to provide all that for our cybersecurity.
Mr. Mayor, they did provide everything for our cybersecurity to the insurance, and I did send him this policy and ask him what steps we need to take to implement it, so I'm waiting to hear from him.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So we started the process, and then this is part of the process too, and that's why our thing was first reading. Just so we get just what we're doing now, some questions and keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Forced me to deal with this, basically.
Yeah.
We've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, so we put a little pressure on ourselves here to
Right.
get it done here in the near future.
Well, we had an accommodation
Yeah.
with Love, and we were trying to.
Well, I was putting it off, not, nobody here was.
Well,
I
you
was
put it
too.
off.
I should have
I'm
opted on
good,
a little.
I'm good at kicking the can down the road too, John.
Well, that was me, it was truly me.
But sometimes it's intentional, kicking the can down the road.
Procrastinating. Well, plus I wanted to see what other
If
communities.
Marion was here, she said,
Right.
I can kick everything down the road. I wait till the last minute. Okay. Any other questions on that? So I'll have it on the COW meeting agenda next week too. Okay? Then we have, item B, resolution 2026-13. That's the Walton Hills Lake Club agreement. That I would like to ask for, suspension in the council meeting.
Special or regular?
No, I would do it in a regular meeting. You know, I don't. And then we usually issue a check in May, correct, Nikki?
Correct. After this is passed, we can issue the check.
Any questions on that? We're gonna let Jeff and Shawnee get away that easy, huh? Okay. Then we have, resolution 2026-14, that's the ODOT SALT program. We also do that at the same time every year. Nikki, anything to say with that, or?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any update on that. I know that they get the bids late, but that we have to have this legislation in place, I believe. Is that correct? To move forward with the
Yes.
bid?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, yes.
So I would ask for suspension with that. Then we have item D, 2026-15, the Community Development Block Grant. That's what Joe talked about tonight also, along with the sidewalk. This is our second grant that came available, and it was, we just became available, what, 2 weeks ago? Remember, very quickly. So we're glad to get that. So that would be also for the regular meeting or suspension. And then we have the resolution 2026-16, the reappointment of Todd Toez, which I talked a little bit about. What that is, Todd Toez was appointed to the Planning Commission in 2020, his first term. His term did expire, I think, 2/26, and I would like to reappoint him for an additional term. I know we have in legislation that we would like to, after we have, that we're okay if they've done a great job to reappoint him for a second term, but then after 12 years, we'd like to open it up unless no one applies. Then we could reappoint that person. So that was Todd's first term. I would like to ask the committee for confirmation. I'd like to reappoint him. I'd like you to confirm it. We don't have anything. We could do that special meeting. I could do it in the regular council meeting. At this time, we don't have nothing in front of planning. As part of the planning commission, I think Todd brings a lot to the table. I think he's done a great job. He's definitely in tune with Ford Innovation East project and other projects. As you know, working for Sugar Valley Engineering, or helping them out, working for another party. He's very involved in a lot of projects that take place in the village. We're very fortunate because he has the vested interest. You know, he always says, well, Mayor, you know, that's where I live. I want it to be better than right. You know, and I said, well, that's great. I appreciate that. So we always have that second set of eyes out there with Todd. So I'd ask for his reappointment. Any questions on that? Okay, that will be on next week's too. We have Sharpscapes. I guess for Todd, I'll just wait to the regular council meeting at that. I don't see no emergency on that. We will, you know, if we do have a special meeting next week, I will put that on there. Then we have Sharpscapes, Resolution 2026-17. That's to renew the contract with Sharpscapes for the same amount that it was last year. And that's it. I don't even have anything for other business, unless anybody else has anything for other business. Did post the chief's job. That got posted yesterday. It's on the website. It's in Indeed. There's a process to do that. And so that's there. That's the only thing I have for other business.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just have one thing, I saw in the journal, and Nikki, if you could please change for the record, Resolution 2026-5 was not passed as a 5-0, that was a 4-1.
That was written in the journal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I saw it.
Anything else? Anybody have anything else? I just want to say I'm glad we came to a better place with the insurance. I know when we sat down with them at first, it was, they're still not happy about the 21%, but better than 37, which just unbelievable. $100,000, so I'm glad they worked hard, and I'm glad you guys, we come to spend some time in a good place. And I think where we ended up polling the employees is a good thing. So I appreciate Melissa and Nikki working on it. They worked close with Mike and Carol on that. So, and thank you to the Lake Club for providing all the financials and stuff, and just having good cooperation with us. Any other business or anything to add? Otherwise, I'll ask for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
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 Vote on the motion.
Councilman Nielsen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Canzoni?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel?
Yes.
Councilman Whedon?
Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned at 9:03. Thank you, everybody. Did everybody have a nice Easter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or nice Sabbath?
Speakers are.